As much as any other threat, recognizing and avoiding scams is becoming a necessary skill in today's world. And this week on the podcast, we're going to talk about that with Coach John Mears. Coming up.
In football, the red zone is where a team has to make small adjustments to ensure victory. As you approach retirement, you also need to make small adjustments to ensure success. This is the Red Zone Retirement Program with registered investment advisor and enrolled agent John Mears of Mears Money Management.
Hey everybody, welcome into the podcast. Coming up this week here on Red Zone Retirement Program, we're going to talk about scams and not getting scammed and hopefully avoiding some fraud. So Coach and I have got some things to share and hopefully a rapid fire kind of conversation on things to look out for, all that good jazz. So hopefully helps you all out with a useful nugget or two along the way so that you don't have to get scammed and then wind up doing up downs and, Coach making you, do a suicides. That's no fun. I don't think do they call them that anymore? That's probably not very PC.
No, it's not politically correct. We have to watch our language out in the field nowadays.
That is true. That's
really tough to do because I have ways to convey my thoughts.
Because they used to really kill you. That's how they called them that, right? Doing those back and forth.
Yeah, we can't even yell at the kids anymore. We have to say, "Oh, come on, good job."
Golf clap.
Not catching the ball. Yeah.
Golf clap. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go. How you doing this week, sir?
Doing good. As we're recording this, we're in the heart of tax season. So I am suffering from tax fatigue right now, but I love what I do. And it's fun to kind of marry this stuff with the financial planning stuff though. Yeah. So it's a lot of work, but we need to get to the end here. We need to get to April 15th.
Well, you and I were talking before we jumped on here that you want me to bring up the movie, The Beekeeper. I have not seen it yet. But in here, in my conversation piece today, I had this little news piece about a senior 77-year-old widow named Marjorie who lost $600,000 to a tech support scam back in 22. Crazy, right? So they convinced her that they needed to access her computer and they transfer stuff over to crypto to protect her accounts and funds. And then, of course, she lost everything. And Americans have lost like $3 billion just in 2022 alone, Coach. Due to scam. So that's why we want to talk about it. And you were telling me it's kind of similar to what's going on in the new Jason Statham movie.
Yeah. So in the movie, it's and we're going to bring this back home in a second here. But when I saw the movie, the gist of the movie is a woman gets scammed, and it's a mentor or close friend of Jason Statham's character. She gets scammed by one of those call centers that calls and tells you your computer's locked up and you have to call into this number, and then they ask for access to your computer, so on and so forth. And she ends up losing a couple of $1 million, her life savings. She's a retiree, obviously. Yeah. She ends up losing her life savings, and that's where the rest of the movie goes on because Jason Statham, it's a revenge.
He now has to revenge.
He gets back to the bad guys. Yeah, the way this hits home is both my own mother and my mother-in-law have gone through this. They have had these kinds of issues where people have called in, their computers locked up, and both my mother and my mother-in-law have fallen for it. And they will ask you to go to Walmart and you get those gift certificates,
which is
ask
crazy,
for
right?
All this stuff. And again, you click on the wrong thing on the wrong email, or you answer the call, and they're good at this. Yeah. They're really, really, really good at what they're doing, and they will ask for information. And before you know it, you've given them your account number and your social security number. Yeah. And so, one thing I would like to, let people know that are watching this or listening to this podcast, if you have ever fallen for this, if it's ever happened to you, you should not be ashamed. That's the number one thing. I think that's one thing that again, Janelle's and my mother felt was a little bit of frustration and shame that they got taken. Hey, I really believe it can happen to anybody. They prey on older people because they're the ones that have the money.
And they're not as tech savvy sometimes, right?
Correct. So, correct. But even my mother's fairly tech savvy, even at 88 years old.
Mine too.
But again, they know how to ask the questions. They already have access to some information, which leads you down that wrong path. Either there's a banking information, or can you verify this credit card? And they already know the credit card. They might even know the last 4 digits of the credit card. Right. And so they know enough to draw you in. And so that's where we have to be very, very careful with these scam artists. And again, don't be ashamed if you fall for it. You're human, and this happens. And they're bad. They're bad guys. Let's face it.
That's right.
Their intent is not good.
And we can't all send Jason Statham after him. So, So let's run
send
through.
Me after them.
We're going to send Coach after him. He's a big dude now. I'll be a little scared now. So let's run through a few things, Coach, and we'll share some stuff with folks this week to try to give, you may know some of this stuff, guys. You may not, right? But let's start with one that most people know, phishing. Yes. We like to go fishing, but not this kind. And this is using emails and websites, right, to steal your data. Classic thing. Obviously, Amazon is huge. We're all getting stuff from Amazon, and you might get an email that says there's a problem with your order. Click here to get it fixed. Do not do that. If you think that there's an issue and you're just worried about an order you might have made, because the chances are you probably made one. That's what they're banking on. Don't click on anything in that email. Just delete the email and then go log in specifically to your own Amazon account and see if there is a problem. My mom gets these all the time. To your point, she's in her 80s and she doesn't fall for them, right? So, but first time she asked me, she's like, "Hey, I think I need to check this." And I'm like, "Not through any links that they send you." So that's phishing.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you get an email that may have a link to, a lot of times if you hover over that link, you can actually see where the URL is at. And if it says that they're from Wells Fargo and the URL is from XYZ, whatever, that's one easy way to notice that. It's just hover over the link. Don't click the link, because once you click the link, they got you. So be very careful about that.
Okay. And then there's something called vishing. So it's like phishing, but with a V. And this is basically the phone version where they're getting, phone calls, right? So we've all probably gotten this is the IRS calling. We'd like to, the IRS doesn't do that, right? First and foremost, if they're after you to talk about something, they're sending you certified mail first and foremost.
Yeah. So yeah, the phone calls are the classic ones. And I think that's what I'm least worried about, because these days we're all getting, and
nobody ever answers their phone anymore.
I'm getting 8 to 10 of these things a day. And the Apple phone already says spam risk on it. So I don't know why these guys continue. Well, it must be profitable. I guess that's why they still do it.
Hey, it's a numbers game, right?
Yeah.
It's a numbers game. So, okay. So yeah, I'm with you. It's not as big now. Smishing is the other one. And it stands for SMS, because that's text, what the text code is called. And this is texting. Same kind of thing as the email. Often there's a link in it. Again, do not click on these links.
That one I am worried about, because because you really can't check a URL. So something pops up, and that's that Amazon thing or whatever. Just, can you verify this? And again, if it's Amazon, the biggest distributor in the world, chances are you use Amazon. If you're listening to this, there's probably a very good chance, and it's easy. By the way, your shipment is being delayed.
Yeah. Well, why? I want to know. Yeah. Where's my kitty litter? Or whatever it is, right? So,
or nowadays they're personalized. They'll say something like, "Hey, hey, call me back. I've gotten those. Hey, call me back. I haven't heard from you." Yeah. And you're tempted to. If you don't recognize the phone number, my advice is to not click on that. I know in my own world, if I am ever texting somebody that may or may not have my phone number, I always lead in. This is John Mears. This is what I need. If they don't give you their name, or if they don't look familiar, you don't know they have the phone, you're better off.
There you go. Not even messing with it. Right. And so obviously it's fairly apparent, right? Identity theft, financial loss, credit damage, all these things can happen. So just don't do it. So we'll put a link in here to Thomson Reuters, an article that we have. We'll put it in the show notes details for folks to check out if they would like some more details on some of these types of scams. But you and I will run through them real quick, John, here on the episode this week. Government imposters, obviously a big one, especially around the IRS. We kind of just touched on that. But same thing, the sheriff's department is on their way to lock out your house if you don't, pay this bill. They don't do that.
Yeah. And it's funny, because being in the tax industry as I have for 30 years, I've gotten so many of these people question, "Hey, is this legit? Is this legit?" And I tell people all the time, picture a lazy government worker in your own mind. They're not going to go to all this effort. They send things, as you stated earlier, it's all by mail or certified mail. If they're coming to your house, that means you're under criminal investigation. Right. That's the only way they're coming to your house. And you would have known. And the way the IRS operates now, you would have gotten so many letters that it would have been, this would not be a surprise. And my guess is that anybody listening to this podcast is probably not under criminal investigation. I'm going to guess.
Yeah. So that's one. Sweepstakes, it's old school, but hey, every once in a while, you've won $10,000, we just need to verify, your information so that we can release the money to the correct person.
That's what happened with my own mother. Yeah. So this is something that, and it sounds appealing because a lot of retirees, they have some time on their hands and they do play some of these games, with a sweepstakes or whatever.
Sure.
Like you said, it's old school, but they still exist out there and it's fun. It sounds good.
Exactly.
And again, it's very well put together, but yeah, again, if this is why probably you shouldn't be involved in those kind of things, but if you are, be very, very careful.
But go right to the source. Don't rely on a response that you got, right?
Yeah.
Robocalls, phone scams, we kind of touched on that. Computer tech scams, we kind of touched on that. Let's go to some family or personal scams, Coach. So there's grandparent or parent or love interest scams that are really interesting. My mother-in-law last year saw a post from her brother saying that he had a car issue or whatever and needed $1,000 or whatever in order to get his car fixed. And she assumed that he was posting this on social media, which again, red flag should have been, why would he do that versus just calling you or messaging you directly as his sister? And not to throw her under the bus, but she almost fell for it. Now her daughter caught her. My sister-in-law caught her and said, "What are you doing?" Right. So look out for that kind of family scam as well.
Yeah, that is something that's pretty common. Again, if you have some sort of personalized information, as an advisor, I get all sorts of horror stories from other advisors. What happens in our industry is where we have money that's in an account and needs to be quickly moved for a real estate transaction to be completed.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, once it gets wired to the escrow company,
that's gone.
It's not coming back.
Yeah. So if they're asking for a wire, that's usually a pretty big indicator. We're going to talk about some signs in a second, but yeah.
Yes. So, the family thing is and that's why we also will, as far as trading, if it is a husband's IRA, we will not let the wife, or vice versa. If it's a wife's IRA, we will not let the husband give any instructions regarding that account. We will only, it must be the account owner of that account. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was even talking with an advisor the other day, John, who was saying that they were getting these text messages saying, "Hey, we went to high school together, and it'd be great to reconnect, and how are you, and so on and so forth." And come to find out, it was a complete scam, and they're just hoping that to prey on, maybe you're a widow, right? And maybe even in your 50s. I mean, I'm 52, whatever, but maybe you're a pre-retiree or retiree. You've lost your loved one. And they're thinking, hey, you're lonely. You're looking for someone to talk to, and maybe they can get enough information out of you to, scam some stuff. So again, be careful with all those things. And we're going to talk about some signs. We'll just kind of rapid fire these, Coach. Signs to kind of recognize if it's a scam. And we'll start with grandma. Grandma has said this, all of our grandmothers said this forever and a day. I think if it's too good to be true, probably is. Start right there.
Yeah, and that's the old Nigerian prince thing.
The prince, that's been around since what, the late 80s, early 90s?
Yes.
I'll send you $10 million if you give me 100,000 American. It's like, what?
Yeah, if it's that's always great. And that goes in the investment world. We always talk about that as well. It goes well in the scam world as well. If it's too good to be true, it probably is, and you're probably better off not touching that.
All right, give me another one, Coach.
Sometimes if it's an unsolicited request for information, that's just something that always happens as well. I get that, where people ask for a certain information. Again, a lot of times it can be even a real person, a husband or wife or a child of a family member. If they're asking for information, I always have to tell them, I love you, but I can't give you that information. So,
and you just said the key word though, unsolicited. So if you initiated a transfer, let's say on Zelle, on your bank through Zelle to your grandkid, and, they call you to verify that information before they transfer the amount, that's one thing because you initiated it, right? So they could call you and you could kind of verify, make sure that it's a legit phone call. But it's another if it's like, hey, this is such and such calling. We just need to verify your information again so that we can transfer. Double check it. Just pause, back up for a second, and double check that stuff.
Tap the brakes.
Yes. That's a great point.
Yeah.
We touched on don't open email links. We already did that. Are they requesting? We did the kind of the smaller money to get the big money. Here's one to think about. A lot of these things do come from other countries, right? And so poor wording or grammatical errors that doesn't make a lot of sense to
huge
us.
Red flag to me. When
huge
I see
red flag, right?
When they don't use
right. If it seems weird.
If the pronouns aren't fitting the kind of the context of that, whatever they're talking about, that's always something that always catches my eye as well.
Yeah.
And we've seen that. It's like, okay, proper wording. Again, if it's official business, it's probably going to have been proofread, and it's going to be proofread by somebody that.
I mean, and even if you're going to a vacation on an island someplace or something, like you're going to Aruba or something, and you're getting some communication back, yeah, that's understandable. But again, unsolicited and possibly very grammatically off should act as at least a red flag, right?
Always to me, yes.
To at least pump the brakes.
It'll slow me down at least, yeah.
Checks or cashier checks. That's another one, right?
That's what happened with my own mother, where again, she was told to actually go get, and I don't remember what it's called, but at Walmart, they have I think they're like the traveler's checks, but they're not that.
Oh,
she was told to go to
like
Walmart,
a Western Union or something.
Yeah. And she was told to get this script, if you will, and do something with it. And it's like, it was a lot of effort. She actually had to leave the house to go, and she caught herself before she got all the way over there. She actually had left the house.
Yeah, and to your point, those and gift cards. Hey, pay us with a vanilla gift card.
Yes.
Why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. I'm going to start asking my clients to pay me that way. So
yeah, very strange, right?
Yeah, it's just very odd. It just sounds odd, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so beyond spotting the red flags, Coach, what are some protections we can put in place to avoid being a scam victim? I'll start with one, and we'll just go back and forth. Strong passwords. Look, we hate them. They've become the new bane of our existence. There's a password for every flipping thing that we do. But you know what? When it comes to the financial stuff, please change these regularly and use something fairly complex, not your dog's name and your birthday, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and if there's an opportunity to use two-factor authentication, that really actually is good. I know it annoys all this annoys all of us that we have to go through this, and you're in a hurry and you can't think of the password, or you don't have access to your cell phone, and they're asking for two-factor authentication and all that. Yep. But it is in place for your security. We just
there you go.
Went from TD Ameritrade over to Schwab. Schwab is asking for additional security measures, and I'm trying to encourage all my clients to use these security measures because it's in their best interest. It's there to protect them, not because Schwab wants to be a pain in the neck. So.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? At this point with credit cards, go ahead and turn those activation things on, those fraud alerts, as well as the notify me of a transaction over a certain amount. Pick whatever amount you want.
Correct.
It's another email, but you don't have to do anything with it. Just look, oh, yep, I just got an email that said I bought something on, NHL.com, and you know that you did. Well, great. Problem solved. Yeah. But if you know you didn't, then you can deal with it.
Correct. I have a business Capital One card, and it pops up, and Janelle has one. And one time I did ask her, "Hey, did you do this thing?" And oh yeah, she did. Okay, but at least I saw it, and I could question it right there on the spot.
Exactly. So. Antivirus software, keep that stuff up to date. That's how the tech scam things can happen. But also, again, make sure you're going back through the legitimate company that you got it from, not some random, hey, we're noticing a problem and we want to update. And that's the worst thing too. Make sure that when you're on your computer, if you get your computer is out of date, don't just click that pop up. Go through your actual software if you need to do an update, not through a pop up.
Correct. So, and I tend to be a Norton McAfee kind of person. I mean, they're the oldest, and I don't know, maybe there are issues with them. I don't know. Maybe somebody watching this or listening to this is going to say, hey, I don't trust those.
Hey,
guys
if you think of a better one, put it in the show notes and let us know if better ones.
But I've used them for ages, and I found it to be fairly reliable. One thing that somebody told me many years ago also is go ahead and shut off your computer. Don't just close your laptop, shut it off, and that will actually shut down to the ability for people to kind of walk into your computer.
And it's not the worst idea to do a hard reboot, which that's what it's called. If you power it all the way down and power it back up the next day or whatever, sometimes it's really actually just good for the computer. Just kind of helps it reset all of its various drivers and things. So
correct.
Some good ones there. I know we're getting a little long on time. We'll see. We'll squeeze one or two more things in here. I was just at the doctor's office the other day, John, and it was like, everybody has free Wi-Fi, especially if you're going to be someplace for a while. You could be getting your car service at the Chevy dealership, whatever. Totally understandable. They want to make it easy. We're browsing, fine, but don't go do anything. Don't go shopping, and don't go into your bank information when you're on public Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One time I was doing this. So I was doing that at the car wash. So there's a million people around, and again, it's free Wi-Fi. Sure. And there was something I wanted to make sure, kind of moving money from one account to that. And also I caught myself from looking around. Not that there's any evil people around me, but
you never know.
You never know if they're truly evil. They're not going to be seeing me anyway. But it just struck me right then. I'm like, oh wait, this is probably not the place to be doing this.
I am doing exactly what I tell my clients not to do. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, to your point earlier, to your point earlier, we're all human, right? Mm-hmm. We're all human. So let's jump out. That's some things to think about. Let's jump out real fast. Check this out, folks, in case you need some help. John's got some great ways to do that. We'll come back with our 2-minute warning.
John has a couple of free books, Diffuse and Tax-Free Retirement in California, that reveal exactly how you can experience zero taxes in retirement and overcome the IRS lien on your 401k, IRA, and 403b, which could threaten your future lifestyle. These are complimentary, so all you have to do to pick these up 100% free is just stop by rescuemyretirement.net. That's rescuemyretirement.net. Fill in the basic info and he'll ship those out to you immediately. That's rescuemyretirement.net for a copy of Diffuse and Tax-Free Retirement in California.
All right, we're back from the 2-minute warning here, Coach. Let's take an email question to wrap it up here from Tess, who says, as part of my divorce settlement, I'll receive a portion of my husband's pension for as long as he's alive. Should I take out a life insurance policy on him in case he dies before me? I might lose a big chunk of that retirement income. So what's your thoughts?
Yes. Thanks for
playing.
This is actually a very good use of life insurance because you have an insurable interest in this other person and you are counting on that. I think this is insurance 101. You have this insurable interest. You're counting on this income, especially in retirement, and you're counting on this person's life. So we need to be prudent. We don't want to over-insure. Yeah. That is certainly worth a discussion. And you can even bring this up to the ex if you have an okay relationship about, just let them know that you're doing that. But this is something that I've done for other clients in the past where they've insured a third party that, again, you have an insurable interest. It could be for business. In this case, it could be for divorce, which is also a classic reason for it. Right. But yeah, she's thinking correctly. If you have an insurable interest with somebody and you're counting on that income, insurance is great leverage. Insurance is actually, pretty cost effective for most people. So it's a great idea.
Well, there you go. Thank you so much for sending the question in, checking out the podcast, and we'll wrap it up there this week. Thanks for hanging out with us. As always, if you need some help, make sure you're reaching out to a qualified professional. If you feel like you've been scammed, which is this week's topic, first of all, if it's egregious or bad enough, call the police. Notify who you need to notify. If it's financially related and you have an advisor like John, reach out to them immediately and say, hey, I think I might have been compromised, so they can start taking steps as well. But make sure you do the things you need to do to protect yourself. Hopefully this helped you a little bit along the way. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple and Spotify and YouTube. And if you need some help, as always, you can just stop by mearsmoney.com. That's mearsmoney.com. Or if you're ready to talk, book a chat with John.net. That's bookachatwithjohn.net. For Coach, I'm Mark. We'll see you next time here on the podcast. This is Red Zone Retirement Program.
Advisory services offered through Mears Money Management, Inc., an RIA registered in the states of California and Texas. California Department of Insurance License number 0685203.